My life felt stable and bright. I had a good career, a loving fiancé, and my sister, Leela, was my best friend. We shared everything. I truly believed we would always be there for each other, supporting every dream. This sense of security was my foundation, something I cherished deeply. Then the first crack appeared. A major project I led at work, one I poured my heart into, unexpectedly failed. The data was there, the strategy sound, but it just fell apart. I felt a wave of confusion, and a knot of worry tightened in my stomach. It made no sense. Soon after, a promotion I had worked years for, one that was practically guaranteed, went to a junior colleague. I was stunned. My boss offered vague explanations, but I felt a deep sense of injustice. It was as if my hard work had suddenly become invisible. I questioned my own abilities. The biggest blow came when a crucial partnership opportunity, one that would define my career, was suddenly withdrawn. No clear reason was given. My dreams felt shattered. I walked away from that meeting feeling numb, the weight of professional failure pressing down on me, leaving me devastated. At home, my relationship with Mark, my fiancé, began to fray. He started asking about strange rumors he'd heard, whispers about my commitment and character. I couldn't understand where they came from. A cold distance grew between us, replacing our easy closeness. Eventually, Mark ended things. He said he couldn't trust me anymore, citing things I hadn't done or said. My heart broke. I sat in our apartment, surrounded by memories, trying to piece together what had gone so wrong. The pain was immense, and I felt utterly lost. Through it all, Leela was my rock. I poured out every failure, every heartbreak, every fear to her. She listened, hugged me, and offered comforting words. She was my confidante, my best friend. Her unwavering support was the only thing that kept me from completely falling apart. Yet, even with Leela's comfort, I noticed a shift at home. My parents, while kind, seemed to dote more on Leela. I overheard them discussing a large sum of money they were giving her for a new venture. My own struggles felt minimized, almost invisible, beside her success. It was a sting I tried to ignore. I started to feel isolated, adrift in my own life. I questioned my judgment, my sanity. Was I imagining things? Then, a former colleague called, mentioning in passing that someone had been spreading stories about me at work. I dismissed it, unable to imagine who would do such a thing, especially not Leela. One evening, I walked past Leela's room and heard her on the phone, her voice hushed. I caught a fragment. Just got to keep up appearances a little longer. A chill ran down my spine. The words hung in the air, unsettling me deeply. A cold, unfamiliar dread began to settle in my heart. The memory of Leela's hushed phone call lingered. It was a small seed of doubt, but it began to grow. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was deeply wrong. I decided to start with my old workplace. My career had been so important to me, and its sudden unraveling still felt like a puzzle. I felt a quiet determination settling in, a need to understand. Getting access to old company records was difficult, but I found a way. Late at night, I pieced together fragments of information. I found a pattern, emails that seemed to incriminate me, data reports that were subtly altered. It was all very clever, designed to look like my own mistakes. A cold dread began to creep in. This wasn't just bad luck, it was deliberate sabotage. Then came the chilling discovery. The digital trail, the IP addresses, the login times for the manipulated files. They led back to a specific device. Not mine, but one often used by Leela or even the shared family computer. My breath caught in my throat. It felt like a punch to the gut. Could it really be her? The thought was almost too painful to bear, yet it was there. Next, I thought about Mark, my ex-fiancé, and the strange rumors. He had mentioned my best friend Sarah. Sarah, who had always been my confidante, my rock. It seemed impossible. But the unease was too strong to ignore. I decided to reach out to Sarah, my stomach tight with a mix of hope and fear. I met Sarah for coffee, trying to keep my voice calm. I asked her directly about the rumors. At first, she denied everything, her eyes darting away. But as I pressed gently, showing her how much I was hurting, she broke. Tears streamed down her face as she confessed. Leela had fed her information, coaching her on how to subtly spread doubt about me. My world tilted. The betrayal was crushing. The confession from Sarah confirmed my worst fears. Leela, my sister. The pieces were starting to fit, but in the most horrific way. My focus shifted to our family finances. I remembered my parents doting on Leela, the large sum of money they gave her. I felt a cold dread as I began to meticulously review their will and investment documents. This was going to hurt. It took days, poring over every line, every signature. My parents' will had been subtly altered, small changes that over time would redirect significant portions of their estate. Their investments, too, showed suspicious activity. It was a slow, calculated bleed. I felt sick to my stomach. This wasn't just about my career or my relationship. It was about my family's legacy, my inheritance. The full scope of Leela's plan became terrifyingly clear. She had positioned herself as their trusted advisor, slowly siphoning funds and redirecting my rightful inheritance through falsified documents. It was a complex, years-long scheme. The realization hit me like a physical blow. My own sister, the one I confided in, was the architect of my ruin. The pain was immense, almost paralyzing. The confusion I had felt for so long vanished, replaced by a cold, burning anger. It wasn't just anger, it was a fierce resolve. Leela had systematically stolen my life, piece by piece. My career, my love, my family's trust, my future. I would not let her get away with it. I would expose her. I would reclaim what was stolen. My mind, once lost in grief, was now sharp and focused. I stood in my quiet living room, holding a framed photo of Leela and me as children. We were smiling, arms around each other, innocent and full of dreams. A single tear traced a path down my cheek, not of sorrow, but of a profound, chilling resolve. I looked at her smiling face in the picture, my voice a whisper in the empty room. "You will regret this, Leela," I vowed. The fight had just begun. I spent weeks, maybe months, in a quiet, focused intensity. Every forged document, every altered bank statement, every digital footprint leading back to Leela's schemes was carefully placed into a growing dossier. Sarah's sworn testimony, detailing Leela's manipulations, was a crucial piece. I felt a strange mix of sorrow for what our family had become and a cold, clear determination. This wasn't just about me. It was about truth. With my comprehensive evidence, I sought out a legal team known for fraud and inheritance disputes. Sitting across from them, presenting the binder, I felt a tremor of nerves, but also a profound sense of purpose. They listened, their expressions grim, confirming the strength of my case. Their words gave me a sense of quiet power. I knew I was doing the right thing, even if it meant tearing open old wounds. The decision to go public was not made lightly. I wanted justice, yes, but also to reclaim my name, my reputation. I chose a platform carefully, a respected financial news outlet. The timing had to be perfect. I felt the weight of it all, knowing this would shatter our family's public image, but the truth, I believed, was more important than any illusion. The day came for me to confront Leela. It wasn't a shouting match. It was quiet, almost eerily calm. I laid out the evidence, piece by piece, on the table between us. Her eyes, usually so bright and full of feigned innocence, flickered. I watched her, not with anger, but with a detached sadness. This was the sister I had loved. As I continued, Leela's carefully constructed facade began to crack. Her initial denials were weak, her attempts to deflect desperate. Her face, usually so composed, contorted with a mixture of fear and rage. It was a chilling sight. The sister I knew or thought I knew was gone, replaced by a cornered animal. I felt no joy in seeing her pain, only a deep, weary resignation. The legal proceedings began, a stark, public unraveling of Leela's deceit. The courtroom was a blur of faces, but I felt only a quiet resolve. The evidence spoke for itself, painting a clear picture of systematic betrayal. The whispers, the shocked gasps from those who knew our family, were a testament to the scale of her actions. It was hard to breathe in that room, knowing our family's secrets were laid bare. My parents were devastated. The truth, when it finally hit them, was a crushing blow. They confronted Leela, their voices filled with a sorrow I had rarely heard. They struggled to reconcile the loving daughter they thought they had with the manipulative stranger exposed in court. Their own blindness, their favoritism, now haunted them. I watched their pain, a heavy weight in my own heart. Leela even then tried to counter-accuse, to deny, to spin a new web of lies, but her words fell flat. My evidence was too strong, too irrefutable. Her attempts at manipulation only served to highlight her guilt, leading to public humiliation. The legal repercussions were swift and severe. I watched her, stripped of her cunning, her power, and felt a quiet, hollow sense of justice. Slowly, painstakingly, the process of reclaiming my rightful inheritance began. It wasn't just money, it was a restoration of what was stolen. I also started to rebuild my career, but this time I was stronger, wiser. The experience had forged a resilience in me that I hadn't known I possessed. I learned to trust my instincts, to guard my vulnerabilities. Leela faced severe financial ruin, disinheritance, and social ostracism. She lost everything she had cunningly sought to gain. I stood at my window, watching the sunrise paint the sky with soft colors. A sense of peace, hard-won and profound, finally settled over me. I had fought for my legacy, for my truth, and I had won. It was a personal triumph over the deepest betrayal, a cold, powerful final note that echoed in the quiet morning.